So hi, Eli. We are here at Buchler and Friends in the warehouse, and we're going to look at Mystic Circuits, which is your company, and you're going to show us a bunch of new stuff, right?
Yeah, hey folks. So as far as new stuff goes, it's a bit of a blast from the past. Basically, items, if you can see all the way down here, they're back in stock. They've been redesigned. They're coming to a store near you very, very soon. And they've gone through a sort of hardware redesign that's going to make it a lot easier for us to keep everything in stock, hopefully forever. Basically, it comes with a new firmware update. The firmware adds some much requested features. I'm going to go ahead and play something in. One of the features that we've heard the most is that people wanted to be able to put on more than one mode at once. And so if you'll take a look here, item, for those that don't know, is an effects processor for gates. So you have these 8 different modes. They're sort of like the different effects that you engage. So for example, this is a burst. I'll go ahead and turn that on. You can hear we're starting to get some bursts on our drums. And you know, people were saying, hey, that's great, but it kind of feels like it's all the same when everything is doing a burst at the same time. So we've added this split mode feature that allows people to each channel to decide whether or not it's going to burst at different times, but it also lets us have more than one mode on at a time. So you can see any of the modes that are illuminated are currently being played on one of the channels. Hopefully you can hear that different channels are doing different things. So that's awfully cool, but we also spent some time improving the behavior of the looper. So if we set our loop speed at noon and the length to 8, and then I press this, hypothetically, I can't really hear, but hopefully it sounds almost the exact same as what you were listening to before. I'll go ahead and turn it off and then back on again. And so this was something that wasn't necessarily possible before. The looper only captured the clock once per, only captured the inputs once per clock. Now it captures them 4 times a clock. So that lets it not only differentiate between triggers and gates, but also do ratchets at twice the speed of the clock. And it can multiply or divide those ratchets pretty accurately. This also lets you loop just a single step, right? Which is pretty nifty. And yeah, so other various fixes have been added. Items are coming back in stock, and they're going to be shipping within the next week or 2.
And what is the price on items?
Item is $295. It hasn't changed from before. Yeah, so they're going to be back soon. Anna 2 is our next module that we'll be putting out. Basically, Anna was one of our first modules that we sort of mass-produced as a surface mount module, and it's been out of stock for a really long time, and part of the reason was that I didn't want to just remake the exact same thing, but more expensive, right? Everything's become pricier since the part shortage and inflation and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, I'm going to make this module more expensive. I'm going to add some features to it at least, right? So now, before Anna had no LED indication, you can see there's LEDs that are sort of showing you what's going on. This one is doing a LFO that's currently affecting plats in various ways. We've added this multiply input, which is a bipolar VCA on both of the inputs. I apologize. Anna is a analog logic module. So it takes 2 signals. It gives you, before it only gave you 6 combinations of those signals that were all kind of various slowly moving like ring mod type of effects. Now it gives you 9, right? And one of the ones that we foolishly omitted last time was a mix. So now you can mix 2 things with voltage control over the level, and then also add 2 more things. You can use it as a 4-channel mixer or an attenuate offset. Boring, I know, but it's nice to be able to do that sort of thing. We've also added the cut output, which is a sort of wave foldery crossfader kind of thing. It's hard to explain. It's a unique nonlinear circuit. And we've also added the swap output, which is basically a 2-channel switch that switches between the 2. Swap makes a really excellent distortion. Let me go ahead and show that to you. I have an ultra kick going into our Anna. You can hear that, right? So if I was to listen to swap, you can hear we get all kinds of nasty stuff. I'll go ahead and just for the sake of it, show you cut. Also gives us some lovely tones. It's a little bit of a smoother effect, but I find it to be really great for processing multiple LFOs because it's sort of like crossfading between all of them. A lot of the other algorithms that Anna had before would reduce the range of the LFOs. This one, because it's a crossfader, it gives you a mixture of the two LFOs, but in a way that doesn't actually like shift everything up or like crop things below a certain voltage or something like that. It gives you a really nice kind of natural sounding combination of multiple modulation sources.
Cool.
And yeah, that's mostly it for audio. 3D VCA was our most recent module. We're going through the process of redesigning all of our older stuff in order to make it easier to stay in stock, in order to make it so that some of it will have new features, some of it won't. Like Tree is the next module after our upcoming video module, and that's going to be exactly the same, right? So I guess it's a good opportunity to show you all the video modules. You can see it's quite large. You know, it's something that we've been working on for a very long time. We've been working on these modules since before the pandemic, and really the thing about these modules is they're trying to make video modular more accessible to people. One of the biggest problems with video modular is the cost, right? Getting an oscillator or something like that, your options are limited. LCX is the main video company that produces a wide range of very well thought out and well functioning modules. But, for example, this prismatic ray that I have from many moons ago is a $600 oscillator that I'm currently using as an LFO, right? So maybe you want something else that works in video rate as an LFO or video levels as an LFO. Ruins gives you 4 oscillators. It's roughly the same size as a prismatic ray, and it can do vertical, horizontal, and LFO speeds. A lot of people aren't familiar with video world, but one of the hardest things to do is to keep an image stationary. Ruins is definitely able to do that. It has a sort of, the philosophy behind it is that we're using all of the most inexpensive parts that we can in order to bring the cost down, right? So prismatic ray is normally around $600. We're shooting for around $350 for Ruins, which gives you 4 oscillators, right? So if you're just getting started out, a Ruins would be a great way to get a wide palette of oscillators. They're definitely glitchier than the prismatic rays, but in my opinion, that's a good thing. So let me try and actually see. The trade shows, it's kind of hard to keep track of your patch, but we are actually running a camera into Ruins, right? And we're using it either to modulate the frequency, or there's actually an input that allows you to use Ruins as a filter, so you could sort of smooth out your camera signal. Let me see, one of these channels is probably doing that. Something along those lines, right? There's also this lovely flip input that sort of reverses the direction of the various oscillators. You can see me there kind of moving around. So you can see it's responding pretty well to our camera input. And then, it's very unusual to be able to have so many oscillators in a system. I'm currently only using 12, but I have 20 video oscillators in this system. For any of you that are aware of video, you can imagine the possibilities there, right? This is not meant to be like, oh, you get 4 prismatic rays. This is more of like a utility sort of module. If your prismatic ray is, or at this point, I forget the name of the dual oscillator that LZX makes, but this is your Rolls Royce. Ruins is going to be your soccer mom band that gets the kids to practice. So our plan is basically currently releasing IDUM, gonna do our best to ship everything to retailers and start getting things back in stock within the next 2 weeks. After that, we'll have hopefully made back enough money in order to put Anna 2 into production right away. We already have the circuit board, so we don't need to wait for Chinese New Year to be over. And then once that's done, I have a little bit more prototyping to do with Ruins in order to get it working in HD. And the plan is to support the new HD formats. So, yeah, I apologize. I feel like I ramble sometimes when I talk about these things.
That's fine.
But it's very, you can literally see my mouth moving in the oscillator.
I'm guessing we can't get a price on Ruins yet because
I'm shooting for 350.
right. Oh yeah, you did say that.
It's going to
Sorry.
be the kind of thing where, there's one chip in there that's $5, right? And I know that doesn't mean a lot to folks who don't work in this space, but as an example, an op amp in audio costs about 25 cents. Op amp in video costs about $5.
Okay.
You can imagine it's very normal to have a design have over 10 op amps. This oscillator has no op amps. It also has no negative rail, which means that it can be powered by the new DC power format. And eventually, ideally, there will be other modules in the system that also work off of just the positive rail with this sort of thing going on. I'd like to be able to have like a small, it's really how much more energy I invest into video is going to depend on how well this first module does. But I have a couple of ideas for things that I think would be really cool. And right now, the main priority for Ruins is making sure that everything syncs correctly in HD. It's obviously going to be fuzzy and weird compared to the HD oscillators from LZX, but that's part of the charm, right? And then after that, it's just going to be, I have to basically buy a production. This is like such inside baseball. I apologize, but I have to buy a production prototype, and then I get to have the final price there. But what I'm shooting for, it's definitely going to be less than 500. I'm shooting for around 350.
Brilliant. Well, Eli, thank you very much for speaking to us
Thanks
and
for
taking
talking to
us
us.
through, and we'll see you soon.